AKAPADers, welcome back to 31 Days of Dread. Let me just say, I love surprising myself. I love the landscape of streaming. I love how readily available so many of the movies, TV shows, cartoons, animations that I bring to you, how readily available they are. Today, right now, is a great case of that. The Batman vs. Dracula. That's right. The one and only Dracula. This is of an animated series, somewhat of a revival of the Batman animated series that a lot of people forget about. This was a straight to DVD It's October, and it's time for the 31 Days of Dread. This is where you get one horror movie a day for the entire month of October. That's how much we love horror. That's how much we love Halloween on the Film Buff Podcast. And here's the crazy thing. This is the longest running horror event in all of podcasting. So get ready. We're going to rock and roll. We're going to scare our socks off. And yes, we're going to be grabbing some candy. Maybe some cereal. Let's go. Feature that I went into thinking, I'm going to hate it. I'm going to dislike it. I'm going to have to move on to something else. And all of a sudden, I was sucked in. I was engaged. And guess what? I was thrilled. This straight-to-DVD animated feature thrilled me. It made me want to watch more. So let's get into it. For the 31 Days of Dread. The Batman vs. Dracula. So here's the wild thing, AKAPADers. In comic book lore, in comic book history, coming up through the 90s, the Dark Knight became embedded with Dracula. Previously, Marvel Comics held the reign of Dracula in comics. They produced one of the most historic comic book runs of all time. Marv Wolfman and Jerry Conway, Tomb of Dracula, for about 100 issues. If you ever just want to read comics and see what comics are all about, and you like horror, start there. But some time passed, like a decade passed. 10 years went by. And, and we're giving rough estimates, but 10 years go by. And DC Comics is hemming and hawing. They're kicking butt in what they call Elseworlds. The Elseworlds DC Comics imprint brought characters that we knew, and at the time, characters that sold. So it was mostly the Dark Knight and Justice League. That's what a lot of the Elseworlds were. Sometimes we would get Superman, sometimes we would get a Green Lantern, but it was mostly the Batman and Justice League for many of these Elseworlds. So one of them was called, I think it was called Blood Hunt, but it was drawn by Kelly Jones. I believe it was written by Doug Moenick. But it was the Dark Knight as a vampire fighting Dracula. And that was so popular, it spun off into three. It was a trilogy almost. Now, we take that into the mid-2000s. It's become a perennial reprint, multiple editions, statues, and action figures. And it's really focused on the artwork of Kelly Jones. This animated series with Rob Liefeld, Extreme Studios alumni, Jeff Matsuda. This is his style. This is his design work. This is his show. This guy came up through comics, and he does a hell of a. He did the Sensational Spider-Man. He did the TMNT animated movie. His character design, the look of his characters are dead on. And this guy deserves way more accolades than people give him. The Batman. Cool Batmobile. Great character designs. They swerved on some of their approaches for this series. Most focused, the most hype, the most viral is their take on the Joker. a lot of you may look at the Joker, and but it is the Joker. When you see him on screen, as you do here, because we got some of the rogues gallery, the Joker's there. I haven't spent a lot of time with this series, but I remember when this series came out. Ran for about 5 years. It has a lot of these benchmarks that we want from a Batman animated interpretation, adaptation series. Great Batmobile, by the way, guys. It's compact. It's somewhat of a fantasy version of the modern day Matt Reeves' The Batman, the Robert Pattinson live action. It's somewhat, it can be an upgrade on that one. Yeah, so I don't have a lot of experience with this series. I just know some of the stories that came out. I remember reading about it. I remember seeing the action figures in the toy. I recall maybe like the Bane for this series. He's a big red dude. But they swung for the fences with some of the interpretations and character designs. But they kind of have to, because the Batman animated series, the one that this one precedes, really is the impactful, perfect, you cannot criticize machine. Even though I will say a lot of those episodes, they're just fine. It does have some standouts, but yeah, there was a lot of episodes and a lot of effort put into it. So clearly you're going to get ones that pop. This series ran for about 5 years, but it was mid-double-digit series numbers. 15 episodes, 16 episodes, 17 episodes. So when I sit down to watch this, I'm just thinking, we're going to find a way to get Dracula to Gotham and this and that. I had no way that the soul of Vicky Vale and that we were going to do somewhat of a true interpretation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Because Dracula is about finding the soul of his love. So, in this case, it's Vicky Vale. He needs to possess and have a minion. It's the Penguin. And this, I love how this movie opens. It opens with a treasure hunt, and the Penguin's in prison, and it breaks out, and he tries to recruit the Joker, and we think the Joker is dead, and the Joker comes back at the end. It's insane. What this movie did that completely elevated the experience, it shows you how absolutely strong and powerful Dracula is, how formidable of a villain he is, how unstoppable. And you can be a superhero and you still don't have a chance against Dracula. Whenever we see Dracula on screen, he needs this level of portrayal. He needs this level of dread. There's a rooftop scene where Batman fights Dracula, and it's thrilling because there's nothing the Dark Knight can do against this guy. I'm watching this, and it really makes you understand why villains are important, because we can't use the same villains all the time, even though they might be popular, but eventually we run out of things for them to do and they get diminished. This Dracula is so well portrayed. They can do a follow-up right now, and it would just be equally impactful. I'm shocked. I'm surprised. I'm a little saddened that this is not in the hearts and minds of current animation and comic book and Batman fans. This deserves to be there. This is, in my view, this is as good as Mask of the Phantasm. And Phantasm tugs on those heartstrings because it deals with a relationship and the history of Bruce Wayne. But this is right there. This might be the second best Batman animated movie I've ever seen. Guys, thank you streaming for making this available. Just do a search. It comes right up. Go check it out. Batman vs. Dracula from 2005. Let's go. AKAPADers, thank you for joining me for another episode of the 31 Days of Dread. We have been dedicated to horror for a long time on this feed, on this podcast. If you guys want to know more about everything we do here, go to AKAPAD.com. From there, you can navigate to the 31 Days of Dread. We have a dedicated landing page that goes through all the years of the 31 Days of Dread. And we also have a directory that jumps you to any movie that we've done. So you can just look up the movie by name. You can go to the directory. It's all alphabetical. And you can just explore. And that's the intent. And that's why we're so into the 31 Days of Dread, because no one's done this. No one has put this much time, this much thought and effort into American horror and international horror, and we love it. Horror is the future of American cinema. Horror right now is holding up American cinema, and I'm so thankful for it. So I'm hoping that you can extend yourself, explore, and continue the conversation. AKAPad.com. Thanks, guys.